You don't need more random AI tools. You need the right one that doesn't kill your bank account while you're still broke and writing a thesis at 2 a.m. In this video, we're going to focus on one simple question. Anara or Scite, which one is actually worth paying for? I'll show you what Anara does better, what Scite does better, and where you should just stick to the free stuff and save your cash. No hype, no sponsorship, just honest testing, so you can decide which one deserves to be your real thesis assistant. Both Anara and Scite are built for researchers, students, and academics, but they solve different problems. Anara is like a research workspace, a place where you live with your PDFs, chat with them, and organize your literature. Scite, on the other hand, is like an X-ray for citations. It doesn't just tell you how many times a paper is cited. It tells you how it is cited, supported, just mentioned, or even contradicted. So in this video, think of Anara equals understanding your papers, and Scite equals judging your papers. Let's start with Anara. Before we throw money at anything, I want you to see what it feels like to have an AI sitting inside your real research workflow, not just another chat window. Anara is built as a research workspace, which means it doesn't just answer questions in a blank chat. It sits on top of your files, your folders, and your reference libraries. So instead of your research life being scattered across 15 tabs and 3 apps, Anara tries to become that single home for all your reading and thinking. In Anara, you can bring in PDFs of articles, book chapters, slides, notes, and you can also connect tools like Zotero, Mendeley, or cloud storage, such as Google Drive, Notion, OneDrive. That way, Anara is not living on an island separate from your real workflow. It becomes this layer on top of your messy academic life, making it a bit less painful. Instead of hunting for that one PDF in a random folder called Final V3, you see everything inside one library view. The first big thing people love about Anara is how it lets you chat with your documents. Instead of opening one PDF at a time and scrolling forever, you can point Anara at a single file or at a whole folder and ask real questions in normal language. You can say things like, which of these papers studied older adults? Show me the main limitations across these studies, or summarize the methods so I can compare them. Behind the scenes, Anara reads through the text and gives answers that are linked to specific sources, so you're not being asked to just trust the AI. When you open a single paper in Anara, it doesn't feel like a dead static PDF. It becomes a kind of living workspace. You can highlight sentences or paragraphs you care about. You can add comments like use this in the introduction, or this study disagrees with Smith 2020, and you can open a chat panel focused only on that paper. If a paragraph is full of jargon, you ask Anara to explain it in simpler terms. If the results are long and confusing, you ask it to pull out the key findings or compare with other papers in the same folder. Another powerful part of Anara is how it handles citations. When you ask a question like, what are the main themes in the last 5 to 7 years of research on X, Anara doesn't just give you a generic essay. It gives a structured answer with numbered references. And for each reference, you can hover or click to see the exact snippet it used. You can also control where Anara looks. Only your workspace, only the internet, or both. You can even turn off model knowledge, so it must rely on real documents from your library or trusted databases, which is exactly what you want for a thesis. Because Anara is built around workspaces and folders, it scales well from I have 5 papers to I have 50. You can group papers into folders like theory, methods, case studies, and then chat with each folder separately. For students at the early stages of a thesis or dissertation, Anara works like a quiet background partner that helps you read smarter and actually use the papers you collect instead of just hoarding them. If that sounds like the kind of help you need, all the links and product info for Anara are down in the description. Click and try it yourself and see if it deserves to be your own thesis assistant. Now let's move to Scite, because this tool attacks a different problem. If Anara helps you live with your PDFs, Scite helps you figure out which of those PDFs the research community actually trusts. Most of us treat citations as simple numbers. This paper has been cited 500 times, so it must be good. But Scite asks a much sharper question. How are people citing this paper? Are they citing it to support it, to mention it, or to argue against it? The part almost everyone should try is the free browser extension. Once you install it and go to Google Scholar or a publisher page, you start seeing small badges under each article with several numbers. One number is the total citations. Another is the number of supporting citation statements, where other papers say, yes, this result holds up. Another is mentioning statements, where the paper is just background. And then there is the contrasting citation count, the spicy one, where people say things like, this result is wrong, or our findings conflict with this. Suddenly, your search results feel like an X-ray of the paper's reputation. When you click through to the cite page for a paper, you can read the exact sentences that support, mention, or contrast that work. You get to see if the article is more like a solid building block or a controversial troublemaker. If you keep this extension on while you search every day, it becomes a kind of sixth sense. You'll quickly spot papers that are highly supported and good to anchor your argument. And you'll also see which ones are heavily contrasted, so you can treat them with more caution or even use that conflict as a research gap. On top of that, there's the Scite plugin for Zotero. You download the plugin file, drop it into Zotero's plugin window, and once it's installed, you get a small Scite button and a sidebar with those same key numbers inside your reference manager. That means you don't even need to be on Google Scholar to see how an article is being cited. You can see it while you're organizing references, building your bibliography, or checking the reading list for your next chapter. If you want more detail, you just click to open the full Scite report in your browser. On the paid side, Scite offers an assistant, dashboards, search tools, reference checks, alerts, and public profiles. The assistant lets you ask questions like, what is the best intervention for social media addiction? And it gives you a list of papers plus an AI summary tied to those references. The reference check is useful near the end of a project. You upload your manuscript, and Scite scans your references to flag items with editorial concerns or lots of contrasting citations. It's like a last-minute sanity check before you send your work to a reviewer. At the same time, even reviewers of Scite are honest about its limits. The assistant and dashboards are okay, but they're not always as strong as tools built purely for deep research. The free version of the assistant is also pretty limited, so many people mainly use Scite for its free browser extension and Zotero plugin, plus maybe reference checks if they have the budget. And that's totally fine, because Scite's real superpower is clear. It turns the ocean of this paper cites that paper into structured signals of support, mention, and contrast. All the links for Scite are in the description too. Start with the free tools that give you a lot of value without any monthly commitment. In the end, you don't need 10 AI tools fighting for space in your brain. If you want a clean place to read, chat with, and actually understand your papers, Anara is probably your new, quiet research home. If you want a brutal but honest x-ray of which papers are trusted and which ones are getting roasted in the citations, Scite is your best friend. You can even combine them. Use Anara to deeply understand the literature you've collected, and use Scite to check whether those key papers are still respected by the community. So here's my suggestion. Pick one tool to try this week, plug it into your real thesis workflow, and see if it actually makes your life easier at 2 a.m. If you want to see how these tools fit into a full AI workflow for your thesis, from finding papers to organizing them to writing sections faster, go watch the next video on my channel where I break down a complete research setup step by step.